Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here because today we're unpacking the ultimate playbook for turning a great idea into a functioning, thriving reality. Imagine this scenario for a second. You're halfway through the college semester, finals are looming, and you look at your class notes only to realize they are a complete and utter disaster. But then, inspiration strikes. What if you launched a dorm room startup called Notes for You? You could hire students to take meticulous class notes, copy them, and sell them to your peers. It's a brilliant concept, right? But as we're about to see, coming up with a great idea is really just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're going to explore exactly how business theory actually translates to real-world success.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover what managers actually do. Second, the art of strategic planning. Third, finding your leadership style. Fourth, keeping operations on track. And finally, mastering essential managerial skills.
So put yourself in the shoes of the Notes for You founder. You've got your note-takers lined up and you've got customers ready to buy. You might actually be asking yourself, why can't I just step back? Do the note-takers really need a boss? Couldn't they just sell the notes themselves and let the whole thing run on autopilot? Well, it might work for a day or two, but to actually grow and survive, a business needs a guiding hand. It needs a manager.
Which brings us to our first point, what managers actually do and the formula for success.
A really good manager achieves success by balancing two critical things: effectiveness and efficiency. Effectiveness means you're doing the right things, making sure all your activities actually contribute to the success of your enterprise. Efficiency, on the other hand, means you're performing those activities in the right way, using the fewest possible resources, like labor, capital, and time. If you can manage to do both, your startup is definitely going to thrive.
But to maintain that success, you have to engage in a continuous cycle. It's a management process loop. To keep Notes for You alive, you can't just do one thing and then call it a day. You have to plan your goals, organize your resources, lead your people, and control your operations by measuring results. It's an interconnected loop that literally never stops spinning.
Let's look at the first step in that loop, the art of strategic planning, going from vision to crisis management.
A massive part of strategic planning is assessing how your company fits into the world around it, using a SWOT analysis. You've probably heard of it. You evaluate your internal strengths, like having a super motivated team of note-takers, against your internal weaknesses. Then you look outward. You identify external opportunities, maybe a huge spike in student enrollment, and external threats, like a brand new note-taking competitor popping up on campus. Matching up these internal and external factors is exactly how you build a bulletproof strategy.
Now, let's do a micro to macro pivot here. We're going to zoom out from our little dorm room startup and look at a massive corporation, Wendy's. Because even with the best plans, the unexpected happens. That's where crisis management comes in. A while back, a woman falsely claimed she found a fingertip in her Wendy's chili in California, and sales in that region absolutely plummeted. But Wendy's management acted swiftly. They didn't change their national advertising and accidentally draw more attention to a localized issue. Instead, they focused locally, handing out free milkshakes and discount coupons in the affected regions. Their swift, calculated crisis management saved their reputation, and the fraudster was eventually caught.
Now, let's sharply contrast Wendy's success with BP's catastrophic handling of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill back in 2010. Following an explosion that tragically killed 11 workers and created a massive environmental disaster, BP's CEO at the time notoriously told reporters, "I would like my life back." The lack of empathy was completely devastating for their public image. It just goes to show the absolute massive stakes of contingency planning and the sheer necessity of thoughtful, empathetic crisis management when things go very wrong. Okay, shifting gears to our next phase, finding your leadership style, or as I like to call it, conducting the orchestra.
Think of a manager as an orchestra conductor. You've handed out the sheet music, you've seated the musicians, now you actually have to tap your baton and inspire them to make beautiful music together. How you do that depends entirely on your personal leadership style. The first style is autocratic. This is a manager who makes decisions without soliciting any input from their subordinates. Now, at first glance, this sounds incredibly harsh. Who wants to be barked at without having a say? But wait. It's absolutely essential in certain situations. If there's a fire or a tight, split-second deadline in a high-stakes emergency, you do not have time for a group debate. You need an autocratic leader to take charge immediately.
Next up is the democratic style. Here, a manager actively seeks input from subordinates while still retaining the final authority to make the decision. This is generally the most commonly favored style in the modern workplace. Why? Because team members feel a really deep sense of ownership and buy-in when they know their voices and ideas are actually being heard.
Then we have the free rein style. This is a highly hands-off approach where managers give their team considerable freedom to solve problems on their own. It can be incredibly empowering, but make no mistake, this style requires immense trust and a highly capable, self-motivated team. If your team isn't ready for it, free rein leadership can very quickly lead to missed deadlines and poor performance.
So the crucial point here is that leadership theories are always evolving. A major modern contrast we see is between transactional and transformational leadership. Transactional leaders are strictly focused on rank, discipline, and ensuring subordinates know exactly what's expected to either get a reward or avoid a punishment. Transformational leaders, however, go further. They mentor, inspire, and develop their teams. They challenge their employees to look beyond personal interests and strive for the good of the entire group. Both definitely have their place, but leaders who can seamlessly pull off both, they are highly sought after.
Moving on to Part 4, keeping operations on track through the control process.
So you've planned, you've organized, and you've led your team beautifully. Are you done? Can you finally go on vacation? Well, not quite. We have to shift to the controlling function to ensure you're actually hitting your targets. Let's ground this abstract theory in some physical reality. Let's go back to notes for you. Let's say your plan was to sell 100 packages of geology notes this month, but when you checked the records, you only sold 80. Why? Well, it turns out this single copy machine kept breaking down, meaning the packages just weren't ready on time. Without the control process, you wouldn't have even noticed that leak in your sales. Let's move to and see how this builds a repeatable framework. This is the 5-step control process in action. Step 1, you set the standard, 100 packages. Step 2, you measure actual performance, 80 packages. Step 3, you compare and identify the deviation, you are short by 20. Step 4, you determine the reason. The broken copy machine. And finally, step 5, you take corrective action. You immediately schedule increased maintenance for that machine. Boom. Problem solved, and future sales are protected.
Which brings us to our final section, mastering essential managerial skills, your path to the top.
As you progress from a dorm room startup to the corporate boardroom, the specific skills you need to master will fundamentally shift. Think of it like an evolution. At the bottom, as a first-line manager, you rely heavily on technical skills, the ability to perform specific tasks like accounting or physically operating that copy machine. As you move to the middle, interpersonal skills become crucial. You really need to manage people, build trust, and resolve conflicts. And when you reach the top, it's all about conceptual skills, the ability to think outside the box, analyze complex situations, and see the big picture. And of course, at literally every level, you absolutely must have strong communication and time management skills.
Connecting all these skills together is your ability to make decisions. There's a 6-step decision-making framework, from identifying a problem, gathering data, generating solutions, all the way to implementing the best option. And the beautiful thing is, it scales perfectly to any situation. Whether you're a college student trying to balance a failing GPA, your relationship, and your lacrosse team commitments, or you're an executive at a company like Foxguard Solutions deciding to spin off an entire corporate division called Qualtrics, the underlying 6-step logical framework is exactly the same.
And that brings us to the end of our roadmap, but it's really the beginning of your real-world application. I want to leave you with a provocative challenge. Whether you're running a startup, leading a massive corporate team, or honestly just managing your own daily life, look closely at your current situation right now. Is it planning, organizing, leading, or controlling that's currently your weakest link? Identify it, apply the tools we discovered today, and start transforming your effectiveness. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.